What's up, everybody? So, it's almost 2. I'm all cleaned up. I am currently in Brooklyn and in Greenpoint. I'm in my friend's bed. My friend Francesca is giving me her bed. And I just posted a different video that was being very silly. But I wanted to have just one, a serious moment, and talk a little bit more earnestly about the ritual that I have been working through over the last it's been about a week since 7 days ago. Well, technically, I guess today is Friday now, so, but last Friday, if you watch my other videos, you already know, but I burned a pair of slippers, and it was the beginning of a week-long sort of emotional and energetic purging. And so last night I wanted to kind of elaborate a little bit on some of the things that I was thinking about and some of the, I guess, queries that I wanted to put out to y'all about just some things to think about around freedom and about oppression. I had a really amazing conversation with Francesca and one of her roommates tonight, and it was interesting to talk to these women because they're 15 years younger than me, you know? I mean, I'm gonna be turning 40 this year, and I guess maybe somewhere in another dimension it's probably weird that I'm hanging out with 25-year-olds, but I actually don't care what anybody thinks, so whatever. But yeah, we were talking about some cool stuff and touching on thoughts around not knowing what you're doing and feeling, maybe you're at an age where you don't know what you're doing, and there can be stress around feeling pressured to be figuring things out, especially in the city, right? You're supposed to have a plan when you go to the city. I mean, that was my mistake when I moved here right out of high school, so I didn't have a plan, and I ended up surviving when I lived here, you know. And when Francesca told me she was moving here a little over a year and a half ago, I'm pretty sure I told her that I thought that was a good idea, but she needed to have a plan, and she needed to stay focused on her plan, because a place like this can swallow you up and spit you out. But what's really amazing about visiting Francesca, so this is someone that I trained with, we sweated together, we bled together, this is my home world. And I'm excited to spend the next couple of days doing all the things. But I've been thinking about oppression, and I've been thinking about how oppression sits in the body, and the levels and layers around oppression, and how we think of oppression as being something outside of ourselves. But what if it's not? What if the oppression that we feel is so deeply embedded? And what if that oppression and not always, I'm not talking about always, but what if that oppression wears a face that you're not expecting? And, you know, we talked with, I'm 99% sure that her roommate's name is Catherine, and we were talking about how we can get, you know, the different kinds of conditioning that exists, the different kinds of programming that exists from our family members and from relationships and from our jobs and from so many things that are outside of ourselves, but it gets ingrained. There's a point where it gets in our systems, right? Like, it's in us, and we forget that it, like, there's also that internal programming, and, you know, we can undo all the exterior stuff, right? But we also need to undo all the interior stuff. And so, like, in the last week, there was a level and a layer, like, within my system that I wasn't conscious of. I'm not gonna say I didn't know it was there, but I'm gonna say, like, I wasn't conscious of it. And through this ritual that I did, burning these slippers, you know, go watch the other videos on my YouTube channel, Soaring Phoenix Power Center, to, like, get the full update, because I feel like this is an ongoing thing. I'm going to be sharing about my experiences. It feels really relevant, and I've been getting positive feedback, and I want to continue to share with y'all. So I'm thinking about oppression and how it sits in the body, and we need to go into that. Like, we really, really, really need to be honest with ourselves about the fact that we are, to a large extent, oppressing ourselves, and we're judging ourselves, and we do this in ways that are so subtle and insidious. And if we can get quiet, and if we can surround ourselves with people who are willing to have these deep conversations and willing to, like, be honest with themselves and with us about how judgment shows up in our lives, and how that restriction and that shame or guilt gets rooted, then we can begin to, like, pull up those roots, right? Like, we can begin to weed through that garden, the garden of our soul, and we can relentlessly murder these aspects of ourselves that don't serve us. And we need to, because when you allow oppression to be in your system, in your physical body, in your mental, emotional, and spiritual body, it's going to manifest in the physical world. And I feel like that's a really big problem, a really big piece of this puzzle right now, is that we don't recognize that we don't let ourselves be who we really want to be. And, you know, part of our conversation tonight was around, like, sex and sexuality and, like, voyeurism. Being in New York City, you know, these women are talking about their experiences of, like, being in places where they were exposed to, like, overt sexuality, and sexual expression, and, like, what that means, and how they felt about it, and, like, and, you know, and I've had conversations with other close friends about similar topics, and so it was interesting to, like, you know, hear their perspective, but also, like, feel into this sense of, like, where's the threshold? That was Catherine was saying, where's the threshold here, right? And then there's also, like, where's the permission, and where are we feeling judgment, and are we recognizing the judgment for what it is? Because I think often something is taboo, but we don't really think of through, like, why it's taboo to us, or why we feel the way we feel about, in this case, you know, the act of being a voyeur, and, like, what that brings up, and, like, yeah. There's so many like weird thoughts and restrictions and so much shame and guilt, right, about being a freak or being you know, being kinky or being gender neutral or non-binary or trans or queer or bisexual or, you know, any of those things, all of those things, none of those things, you know, like there's so many ways to identify now. And there's a lot of free space, but there's also like so much like really harsh limitation around expression of those things and expression of like just like personal truth. And I feel like, you know, through this ritual that I did around, I mean, it really wasn't around sexuality as much as it was around like my relationship dynamic to my ex and like wanting to free myself of that oppression. There was like some really powerfully insightful things that came up, and I wanted to share that. I wish I had live streamed the video, the conversation that we had earlier. It was really, really something. There's a lot of really cool dialogue that happened. But yeah, I wish that you take, I hope that if you take something away from tonight, from this video, that, you know, you watch my other video from tonight. It was just silly. It was, you know, us being silly buying fries in some random grocery store in Brooklyn. But I really want people to start like looking at like, how are you oppressing yourself? Because like, yeah, okay, I get it. There's a lot of oppression out there. We're all dealing with our own, like, there's somebody in our life that's oppressing us, right? There's an institution or people or whatever that's oppressing us, right? But as above, so below, microcosm, macrocosm, what is inside of you that is oppressing you? And how can you identify that? How can you seek those parts of self out? And how can you start to work with unraveling, unwinding, untethering, freeing yourself, liberating yourself? We need that kind of that's the liberation that we truly need. Because when you are liberated in that way, when there's nothing in your system that oppresses you, when your system is free to express itself 100% without shame, without guilt, without fear, without judgment, and everybody else does that too, there is nothing that can oppress a people, right? Because you're always choosing, you're always creating, you're always co-creating with a community, the environment that's most suitable for everybody. And yeah, I get it. This is not like, you know, you can't just change your perspective and magically change the world. This is something that's going to take a long time. But the sooner we get on this, the better, right? Like, the faster things will change, the quicker we like move into like recognizing that we all can do this work. And that we all have a responsibility to do this work. I mean, this is the shit that I'm doing. It's not easy. I didn't have fun, you know, like, yeah, I would love to have been partying and drinking with everybody yesterday, but it was serious work that I did. And I didn't do it for anybody else. It's not like I was like, oh, I'm a martyr and I'm going to spend my evening like suffering on behalf of others. Like, I did this because I wanted to do it. I did it because it's my responsibility to do it. I did it because there was nothing else that I could do. It was the thing I had to do. And when you're compelled in that way, you see the results. The results of freeing myself from that energy, from my ex-husband's toxic energy, is that I know from the moment I woke up today, everything was different, and I could feel it. I could feel that it was going to be a good day, and I don't always feel that way. You know, like I wanted to make a video earlier today and be like, you guys, like I feel great. Like it works. But I didn't get to do that because I was busy doing the shit I had to do. And I'm making this video at 2 in the morning because I really want to connect with you guys, and I really want to keep you involved in your process. I really want you to stay alive in this process. I want you to have faith that there's a result that can come from this process. It's not all bullshit. It's not all hard work. And you do get to reap the rewards. But you have to be patient. And you have to be willing to let go of the things that don't serve you anymore. And that's hard, because that's going to be people that you don't want to let go of. That's going to be places that you don't want to let go of. That's jobs that you don't want to let go of. Security in your life that you don't want to let go of. But it's not healthy, and it doesn't serve you. And if you truly want to move away, if you truly want to like get right with yourself, you have to make choices that reflect the unconditional love that you have for yourself. And unconditional love can be ruthless and brutal, and it will cut right to the bone, and it will bleed you out. But it will also fill you with new life, and it will bring in new people, and it will bring in the next perfect job opportunity, and it will move you to a new location where you can be successful if you let it. But you have to trust. You have to let yourself trust and give yourself the time, and give the universe the time. And there's a little bit of proving yourself. You have to prove that you really want it. It's not about deserving it. You have to prove you really want it. And the universe is going to give you exactly what you need. It's going to give you the challenge. It's going to give you the harsh awakening. It's going to give you the pain. It's going to give you the separation. It's going to do whatever it is that you ask for. It's going to give it to you. And you can't complain when you get it, because it is going to lead you to the thing that you ultimately want. I know this from personal experience. So I'm going to leave off there. I feel like I rambled. I feel like most of my videos are rambling, but I'm getting positive feedback from people. So thank you very, very much if you've been watching and giving me feedback. I really, really appreciate it. It makes it worthwhile to make these videos and save them and post them. We need you. We need you to shine. We need you to be here. We need for you to trust. And we need for you to keep pushing yourself to heal and to be even better than you were yesterday, tomorrow. But you know what? Even if all you're able to do for your entire life is just stay where you are, do what you're doing, be where you're at, that's you're doing the thing. You came here, you're doing the thing. Any goals that you set and achieve, any growth that happens, any positive effect that you have, that's icing on the cake. You're beautiful and perfect, just as you are. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, exactly at the right time you're supposed to be doing it. You have all that you need to be who you need to be in the moment. And if you want to get further than that, if you want to expand beyond that, then do it. Get rid of the oppression. Find out where it is in your system and get rid of it. And if you need somebody's help, ask. You have friends who are healers. You have friends who are brujas. You have friends who are witches. You have friends who are therapists. You have all of the support that you need. And if you don't, somebody will refer you to the right person. You just have to ask. You have to be willing to do the work. So I love you. I thank you for doing you. I ask that you keep doing you. And I will come at you in the near future with more. Thank you for watching. I'm going to be saving and posting these videos on my YouTube channel at Soaring Phoenix Power Center. Tell your friends. Share this video if you want. I love you. Sleep well. Good night.